Hello guys, good evening and welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings, guys. Today was relatively a slow day. I didn't do too many trades personally, nor did I have too many ideas in the community, because I identified chop right in the morning, so that made me sit on hands. A lot of the news plays for me personally did not trigger, so I was sitting on hands. But anyways, still very good day for the community. There were some decent trades. Tesla long was pretty good. There was some Boeing from our pivots, was a good run up all day. And there are some nice trades on the floor. RGV nailed few trades on the floor today, so we'll discuss that. We'll recap how the day went. So let's start. Before I start, just a quick introduction for anybody who's new. So guys, these recaps and these trades are from my community, from anything I share on Twitter, anything I share in my previous YouTube videos, any ideas, trade ideas. These are the recaps from that, and we like to see on our day trades, swing trades, investment names, how are we performing, why did we lose money, why did we make money. And we just try to learn every day something new, and it's kind of a journal of our trades, of my trades, my community trades, the traders on my trading floor. So so we journal that. So every day before the market open, my team gets together. We spend an hour going through all the new sources, creating levels, and creating a game plan. This was a game plan for today. There's a bunch of the names. I didn't end up doing much from the game plan today, except maybe the Tesla, which was the main one. Apple was a strong because of the upgrade. We will discuss that. So we will discuss that, and SMCI went strong even after cautious comments from JPM. Shop was something we traded, and there was a few others, but we'll discuss everything. And then we also have our daily levels. We create daily levels for our traders, and we create levels for them so that they can trade on their own based upon because we trade repeatable system. I teach a repeatable system. For years, I have repeatable setups. Understand what's the difference between a setup and a system. Setup is what you trade, system is how you trade. So these are the levels we use to go long or short based upon their pivot break. But ideally what happens is on a choppy day, we the price stays around these levels and we don't do much. We sit on the hands. Like today, it was a choppy day. And we also share what I call is my day 2, day 3 setups. These are the strategy that I invented. I use this strategy a lot. Roku was a play that triggered from this, that was notable in the community from that. And so we will discuss and see if any other day-to-day setups worked out. You can pause the screen and see what is the strategy. You can see how we play them. As I said again, today was definitely a slower side. There was not many things we did, but let's start with our first play in the community. So the first one we're going to look at is Microsoft, right? So Microsoft was also a day 2, day 3 setup, because as you guys know, Microsoft had earnings on Friday, and on Friday it was a short scalp, right? We shorted it on Friday, as you remember from my Friday recap. This was a Friday short, and today it was a day 2. Let's go back and let's see what were our levels on Microsoft. Let's go back here. So the levels on Microsoft were 405 and 403. So there was those pivots. The first thing you will notice is Microsoft was already under the cloud. So it was already bearish. So it's already bearish. First, you identify a trend. Then you decide based upon that you're going to trade long or short, buy calls or puts, what you're going to do. So when trend is bearish and then we are breaking this 405 pivot that we provide in the pre-market seed. So that means that's a short. Right, so that's what I said. No long, maybe short scalps. Because the reason I said maybe, because I want everybody not to slap, because a lot of new traders in the community, I want them to watch the price action, find the risk reward, and short it. And that's what happened. And it made a lower low. It could not reclaim 405, right? So made a lower low, lower high, made a lower high, so that that I said that's an amateur move. So amateur move is usually the first 4 minutes. The target I gave was 400. So from 405 short, even if you hit 404, still that's fine. We hit our target of 400. So that was a $4 short. Even if you risked $1, that was a $4 short. So Microsoft was easy, stress-free short, because you know that our system is telling it's bearish and we have our levels clearly defined. You know, if I drawing here for you on the gap, you can see that where was that gap and what was the room, and 400 psychological level we always bounce. We already always know that. So Microsoft, you know, day 2 setup was repeatable day 2 setup, and this was again the morning trade. It was not an all day trade, it was just a morning trade. So we identify the trades in the morning setups, 9:30 to 10 a.m, post 10 a.m, like Tesla was a post 10 a.m midday trade. So we'll discuss that when we get there. So let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to talk about is Apple, right? So Apple, let's see what was the plan on Apple. So Apple, we already had an upgrade in the pre-market. I told everybody to check the level sheet, right? So you see that, right? It's on our game plan. Check the level sheet, and if I go to the level sheet, my breakout level 173.75, 174.40, and Apple broke out right at the open. I saw that, and then I set some limit orders on the lower side on the shares, hoping that it would pull back for me, then I could long some. You see, I said that at 9:33 that watch the pullbacks long, and it just never pulled back. It kept pushing, you know. See, that was the breakout, and from that it pushed another $2 into 10 a.m. So it was a good trade. If you know, a lot of traders executed Apple based upon the levels, you know, but I couldn't hit it on the time, but you know, still guiding the trade. We were flagging. So then we flagged into 10 a.m. and we were hoping to break that flag, but the flag failed. And that's where I told everybody, failed breakout, you just get out, right? You long here at 174 area and you long till 176. If the flag fails, you just get out. Or you can wait to get out here, right? But in that case, if your entry is higher, you will lose a lot of money. But we knew there is an upgrade, right? Bullish news, and we knew it's over the pivots flagging. So we knew it was a long. Daily chart has a gap now. So tomorrow will be interesting what Apple does, right? There's into the earnings. So, you know, it would be definitely watching, but there's a room to pull back to 171s. So we definitely watch this chart in coming days into the earnings. All right, guys, let's go to the next one. So let's look at Tesla now, right? So what was the plan on Tesla? So Tesla, you know, really good surprise today. If you saw my Benzinga article that I posted, you know, some time back on Tesla, that how it's a great risk reward investment at that, you know, and it worked out. You know, I don't do too many articles, but if you see that, you know, it worked out here. So you see that it worked out here on, you know, so this one, let's see, let me show you 1 second here. All right, here is it, right? So I posted this chart, I posted the details why Tesla is a good risk reward, and you can see that, you know, when I was posting this chart around, then it dipped under 160 the next day, because this was the pivots. This was the pivots that we were trying to see that if we break out of, right? So these were the few of the pivots, and you see 183.30 was a pivot, and there was another pivot right here under you know, 160s, and you see that what Tesla did today, right? It broke out of all the pivots. So if you saw my article, read my article, followed my guidance there on Tesla, then you did good if you had a swing or long-term position so far, and I think a lot of you did. I did get a lot of DMs today, right? So we are, you know, you see that this was the pivot break. We still need to see the push over the weekly clouds. Real move will come over 200. But anyways, let's see how we traded. So we were gapping up. Initially, the plan was, let's go back, look at our levels. Initially, the plan was to do a B- short, right? Keep a separate account for day trades and swing trades so you can manage easily your buys. So support was 185, 173, resistance was 192. It was not able to break the resistance, so my plan was to short it into the 3450, right? There's a room here between 3450. So that was my initial plan. So that's why I gave everyone that B minus short scalp. So let's see. So I said it's a B minus short scalp. If I can just fix this. All right, so you see that in the morning I said ideally it pulls to 3450. So plan was to scalp the 3450 and then trade long over there. So that was the plan. The scalp was not really working the way I wanted it to work, but I still had like 20% short on like 182.5 puts, you can see there. And then when it tried to push over the clouds, I got out, and I didn't long at that time. So you can pause the screen and see my guidance, because I know my levels, right? So this is my breakout level, and this is EMA Cloud reclaim level. I know I have to get long there, and then so I was short, I covered the short, I told everyone I covered the short, I'm not long yet. And then suddenly Tesla started to break out of the flag. It started to show us a flag setup. Let me show you, right? So watch these price alerts here. So Tesla moved over 512s. So it's already giving me a signal that it's trying to turn bullish, right? And then it breaks the flag. We are talking on the trading floor. This was the flag. It's a repeatable 10 a.m. post 10 a.m. setup, which is my 3450 bounce setup, and it becomes even more high probability setup when it is a flag. So that set up the flag, and then there was a pre-market high breakout, right? So I saw the flag, I risked $2, I took that, and then I alerted everyone that we are crossing the breakout pivot. Next target is 195. So when this is breaking, you see 193.43 and 192 at the high of the day breaking, then we go to 195. So you see all these price alerts going. This one was the pre-market high break. This was the cloud reclaim break, and then this alert was telling people what's the next target. We met our next target, 195s, and then I gave the next target as 198 to everyone, and I told everyone that you can add the lotos for the 200, or you can add shares, because the relative volume was crazy, guys. Look at this relative volume. Tesla traded 230% of its average volume. That tells you that's gonna squeeze. Even I tweeted about this as well intraday, that how we going to squeeze Tesla. So it was meeting all our targets. I tweeted about it as well. A flag break, squeezing the shorts. Even after that tweet, Tesla went on to run from 192 to all the way to 198, right? So that was the point. So that was a big trade for us today. And then when finally 512 broke down, I just got out, right? I said stops at 512, and my last lotto I cut it for like minus 20-30% or something, and but then I re-added the shares, so I'm still holding. So I tell you here, so I told everyone lock the profits. Next pullback 192, 188. 192 was the previous resistance, new support. That's the retest concept that I covered in Friday video. So the next pullback is 192 and 188. I already told everyone that that's the pullback, that's where you add, and then it pulled back. And I added. I told everybody I'm going to hold it. So I added the 192 pullbacks, and I'm going to hold it. And it was a nice flag breakout into close as well. It pushed nicely back into 195s. I'm still holding it, overnighting it, but you can see my guidance here. You pause the screen, understand what we did at the open, what was the flag break, then was pre-market high break. We met our targets, and then we closed our position, and then we bounced from 3450, all by a system, repeatable system, right? So let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to talk about is NVIDIA. So we were short NVIDIA at open. I saw the weakness in semiconductors. I told everyone heavy, don't long. I told them the voice that you can short scalp it, because there was no strength. When we doing our market analysis, I do every morning, first 10 minutes or first 5 minutes into the market open, I can tell which sector is strong. So do we need to long it, or what do we need to do? And if you see, after that short, NVIDIA was all day chop, and I'm not interested to buy Nvidia here. I don't care. It bounces from 850 to 870. Yes, in some scenarios I might buy it, but it's a C minus setup because I don't know the trend, right? In this time it might worked. It worked because it extended and bounced from 850. There was a psychological level, but it's not going to work every time. And look how we traded it on Thursday, Friday. That's when I want to long it, right? So that's when I want to long it. But anyways, today, this morning, it was a short. I told everybody 850 should be your target on the short side. I was on the voice. And it's not just that, because our levels were breaking down. The levels were breaking down on Nvidia. 870 gave up. That's it. It's a short. You risk like $4 or $5 and you make what? $20. So 1 risk to 3, 4 reward trade. So that was the thing. So semis were bearish to start the day. I told everyone right in the morning. And then SMCI was the one which was relatively stronger. Even AMD did a good move, even though it was kind of a choppy action by end of the day. And but next we'll cover our SMCI long. But that was the trade in the morning, Nvidia short based upon the market analysis. All right, let's just talk about SMCI. So SMCI, guys, this morning I saw that it's, even though all other semiconductors are selling, that one is holding up. I noted this at 951. I mean, I noted it before that as well because it was swiping. Remember, Nvidia was fading and it was swiping up, and it became bullish right here, right? So 951, I noticed at 10 a.m. it turned bullish over 512 clouds. Then it turned bullish over 3450 clouds. So that was our long. And then, I told everyone to hold your longs, right? I was on the voice because it's over our pivots. Our system tells it's a long. You can risk here. If you buy 850s, you risk 845s. And then there was a lot of flow coming in. And we have earning tomorrow. So they were buying it into the earnings. I even tweeted about that. SMCI is being bought into the earnings. And that's what was happening. So that's why there were a few reasons to buy SMCI. Call flow, earnings tomorrow, turning bullish, relative strength compared to other semiconductors. And the target I gave everyone was, my initial target was this 870 breakout. Then end of the day, my target was, 900, right? So this is what I told everybody. And then there's a flag. Then was 11 a.m. was a flag. You see here, where was it? This here flag. I said flagging now, hold your longs. We got to see flag break, push to 890, right? Push to 890. So, and pushed. I personally, I don't know, maybe I was looking at a smaller time frame. I personally got out somehow because on that pullback, I personally got out of that pullback because maybe I was looking at 3 minutes. I don't know, because it faked me out that it's breaking the clouds. And then I realized that no, it's holding the trend. It's just a normal pullback, and it reclaimed it. And then I alerted the flag breakout. And then 900 was the target, and then it met the 900 target. Finally, it came down. So I kind of fumbled this long trade, but you can see why was it a long all day. Pause the screen, you can read it. But definitely good trade if you traded it and then you got out here. So BIDU was a kind of loser for me, but was able to keep the loser small because I was looking for this gap fill short. That's what I told everyone, gap fill short. Because if you look at the levels that I gave in the pre-market on BIDU, so let's look at those levels here. 104.50 and 107, right? So it did bounce for exactly the same area that we talked about. It never really left that area. So you saw it never really left that area. So I had a starter short under the clouds and I was hoping we break it, but then it swiped right back up and I stopped out over the clouds. Right, so the expectation was to fade, but what I want you to see that we keep losers small, but I want you guys to see that the level, the 104.50 support pivot, how it held and swiped back. And then I did tell people over the clouds that you can long it, close the shorts, watch for pullback for the bullish bias. And since we closed the short, it ran from 105.50 to 107, little bit trade there. You could have made 20, 30 or 40% on the calls there. So that was BIDU, gap fill short, loser for me. There were definitely some other runners today, like Boeing was a solid runner in the community. If I show you, it has been strong since morning. Whatever levels on the Boeing, our levels on Boeing were 168.64, and once it breaks that level, and I see that it never looks back. Boeing breaks out of the yesterday's highs, and so strong, and it just kept going and going and going. And was a good trader. A lot of traders did trade it in the community. There was one that was, you needed to be like, on top of it, understand what it's doing, and then you could trade. The Chow charter was on top of it, D trades, Prem. So a lot of traders were on the Boeing trade as well today. But this is the power of the levels that I want to show you, that we provide every morning, right? The resistance pivots. And I did mention it on the voice because I'm on the voice most of the time. Let's look at few other trades, not my personal trades, but they were trades in the community by our trader RGV, who was on top of Shop all day long. Let's go back and see what was the plan on Shop here, right? So the Shop was bullish to neutral versus cloud. There's a support was 73.40, 72.60. So once that support breaks, that's it. Just like how we were trying to short BIDU, it was a short. And it flushes, and I did mention the Shop short at the open. If you see here, B minus short scalps may bounce from 34.50, but that's what you do. And I told it first 5 minutes into the open, I told that, and that's faded from 73.50 to the 71.45. So that was a morning short, if you listen to me, because it's a 512 breaking down, then it breaks this pivot, and there's a further short here. Now you can see, watch this RGV, right? He's watching his rejections on 34.50. Watch this, rejections. He draws a downtrend line. He added a short, risking the cloud. This is what I want you guys to do. So see the real-time action here. And then fade, and just a solid call out by RGV. So you see that live, the price action, right? He called the Shop trade live, and that's the conviction. That is the conviction that you need to have on your trades. So that was a great Shop in the community today. Repeatable setup. I'm very proud of our traders. RGV really nailed it today. So there was another one in the community from the Gameplan, which was a solid mover, a semiconductor play. That was ON. Neutral bias will move with the semis. Support is 67, and and it pushed reclaimed clouds, pulled back, created a flag on clouds, and ran all day. A lot of people in the community were on as well, right? So you see they were on that as well. And same again, RGV did the ON 34.50 bounce. Hornet was also long with RGV. Great trades in the community, and then it kept on going, flag breakout, held the trend. It's a system, guys. These are just repeatable systems. So it's not just me in the community. So many traders, hundreds of traders sharing their ideas. So just wanted to show you that the beauty of the system, how our in community we nailed Shop and ON. So beautiful trade. So that was Shop and ON. All right, guys, let's wrap up with the talking about SPY QQQ. Guys, I knew that I teach you again and again. You can read on my YouTube video, or you can watch my shorts. I always talk about how to identify a chop and how to identify a trend day, right? So we were chop. We tried to break out, failed breakout, come back to pre-market lows, hold that, push again, go again to the high of the day, and by 10 a.m. we are not able to make a new high, pull back again. So that's when I decided today is going to be chop, and I'm not going to do much in this market. See, market is a chop today, not the best day to force any place. Market in the chop. When in doubt, check Ripster level. Yes, we got this big fade in the close due to the treasury announcement. If you got it, well and good, but most of the day was chop. There was not really anything, right? Even we tried to break down here and it bounced right away. So if you traded SPY QQQ, most likely you lost money, unless you just traded against the trend. So this is very important, guys. On a chop day, sit on your hands. you can go to my website. I will try to further, you go here, go to trade recaps, or maybe it's trading tips, chop versus trend. Read it carefully. What do I talk about? Read chop versus trend very carefully. How to identify a chop versus trend. All right, guys. So that's it for today, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Big day tomorrow. AMD, SMCI earnings, and FMC on Wednesday. Hopefully tomorrow is better than today. Again, today was a slow day. We managed. We didn't lose anything crazy. Had some good trades here and there. Nice trades in community. I'll see you tomorrow. If you want to trade with us, join the community. Feel free to join. The links and discount codes are in the description. Do not come for the alerts. Come for our educational tools, the guidance, and a great community and family of traders. Take care. Bye-bye.